Hi, it's Dia. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to show you how to draw water drops or water droplets. I'm going to start by just sketching out a leaf, possibly a leaf that almost looks like an aloe leaf, but without the little points, just something really simple so we can focus on the water. The pencil that I'm using is actually a drafting pencil. It's really old. It's from 1960. It's by Eagle and it's turquoise and it's holding Staedtler Mars lead. And I'm using it in a relatively hard lead in H. So what I'm doing is sketching out the water drops first. The one closer to the top is just a basic oval. And the one closer to the center looks like it's dripping. Now, I'm going to make the sun come from the left. So the rays and the brightness will be coming from that direction. And that's important because it's going to create a shadow. So the first thing we'll do is take a Polychromos pencil by Faber-Castell in light phthalo green. Now, if you take a look at the tip, if you can, while I'm coloring, it's not super sharp because I'm just going in and creating a really light background first. In fact, sometimes I go on a separate sheet of paper and make little circles and circles so I can form a nice flat surface so I can shade larger areas more quickly. Also, this does not have to be perfect since it's only a demo. It's not going to be a project that I'm going to display. And for the sake of time, because I did want to do this in real time, I'm going to take off my bracelet because it keeps getting in the way. For the sake of real time, I'm just doing it a little more quickly than I normally would. So yes, I'm using the Faber-Castell pencils, which I really love, and just going to color in the background at this point, avoiding the oval and the teardrop shape that I sketched out lightly that will eventually become the drops. So just filling in, getting a basic background, one color, nothing fancy. Now I'm using a sharpener because I'm going to start the outside of the drops. So I want the tip to be super sharp. Get rid of some of the shavings. Now on this little droplet, since the sun's rays are coming in from the left in the picture, the shadow will also start on the left, strangely enough. So the left edge of the droplet is where we start with the sharpened pencil, and we can push slightly harder because that's going to be where the most intense color will be focused. Now, as we move to the right of the droplet, the pressure and the intensity of the color will get lighter and lighter as we go more and more to the right. Now, an important thing here also is to leave a little drop, not a drop, a little oval shape, because that's going to be the sun's reflection. So either sketch that in or just sketch around an area that you would consider a good spot to have the sun reflection. Now, on the other side of the drop, the shadow would occur. So you're going to push a little harder and make a shadow on the opposite side of the line, on the right side of the line. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the oval drop above. On the inside of the line, I'm going to push a little harder and also form that reflective area where the sun's going to shine. And then fill in around it with that same color. And get lighter and lighter as you move right. Now I'm on the other side of the droplet, and on the leaf part on the outside of the line, I'm going to be doing that same shadow. Now I'm going back and forth because I'm trying to keep the color intensity balanced. Now I'm going to take another sharpened pencil in permanent green, and I'm going to go over the areas that I just did with the phthalo green, and I'm going to create more of a shadow, still avoiding that reflection spot from the sun or the highlight. Now sometimes I go in little tiny sketchy line formations when I color, and sometimes I go in little tiny circles depending on the area. Doing the same on the spot above, on the droplet above. And take your time. Back to the lighter green. And I'm doing some background again because I'm once again trying to get a balanced feel. How the background's going to look in comparison to the actual spots. I should say drops. I keep saying spots. Now this pencil is also sharper, so it's going to go in and color over some of the white areas that were left with the less sharp pencil before. Also, you get a more true color when you go over and over with the same color. And happily, Polychromos pencils are oil-based, so you can go over many times and you don't get a wax bloom like you would with some other pencils. And what a wax bloom is a situation where you go over and over an area where you color again and again, sometimes with the same color, sometimes with different colors, but it becomes impossible to apply more color because it just feels like you're drawing on top of wax. And some people find that problematic. But long story short, with the Faber-Castell pencils, it really doesn't happen because it's an oil base. So I'm just finessing here a little bit, getting a more true color. Although I will be adding more colors and a little bit more detail, so you can get an idea of what the droplets look like against a surface that's not exactly smooth. Now, sometimes things don't come out exactly the way you think they're going to, and this droplet up on top started to look a little more like, almost like the shape of an eye versus an oval drop like I had in mind at first. So I took some of the shading out and I started to think that maybe I would just make another droplet. Now I'm going in with my regular H pencil and I'm going over the areas that I colored with the phthalo green and then the permanent green. And I'm going to make the edges very defined with a very thin line. I'm going to define the edge and then I'm going to start to shadow. Once again, the darkest shadow, the closest to the edge. And then as I move into the droplet, that shadow will get lighter and lighter. And on the underneath part, it's the same thing, but it's not inside the drop, it's outside the drop. From darker to lighter. And I'm using a very, very light touch, and that's why it takes a while. If you want the droplets to look realistic, there really shouldn't be any defining lines within the drops. Now, here I go, and I take a Prismacolor eraser and remove the top because I was thinking in my head when I was first drawing it that I would have the oval, and then like I said, I didn't like the way it looked. So I got rid of it and tried to turn it into a droplet. And when you see me move down on the pencil like that, I'm trying to get more control. I'm holding it very close to the lead, and I'm trying to make a very fine line. Again, underneath. Now I'm reshaping it. Now I started to add some details with the permanent green again, and then grabbed the stump, and I decided I would blend the background first. You can also blend around the highlight in the droplet, but very, very lightly, and not at all around the right side where it remains white, because you really don't want any color there. You want it to appear to just be light, meaning sunlight or whatever light source is in your head when you draw. I'm a little more careful when I go around the edges because you really don't want to pull too much of the color into the leaves. Those drops really stand out from the rest of the drawing. Now I can add my detail lines. Now this video did end up to be a little interesting to me because I decided to leave in the mistake and show how nothing's really a disaster. Nothing is really a big deal with colored pencils. Watercolor might be a different story. Watercolor, you have to be very careful with shadows, and it's much more permanent. So you see here, I did not like the way that ended up. I didn't like the way it looked as another droplet. The shape looked incongruous to me. It didn't work. So I got rid of that shape on top and I made it into a smaller droplet, more oval, and I went back in, added more shading. Now the drop isn't what I would call perfect, but I liked it much better than the original. No, it wasn't even the original, but what I turned it into, I liked it better as a droplet, a circular oval droplet versus a teardrop shape. Now I'm adding yellow to the droplets, and as you can see, it makes them really stand out. It also helps to blend the green in the background, but it makes those droplets stand out and look glassy and glossy. And I love adding that last pop of yellow. I'm going to also add some yellow to the plant because it's out in the sun, and many leaves have that yellow feel to them anyway. This is just about done. You can get the idea of what it looks like. I'm going to be doing a couple more videos with droplets, hanging off of a leaf, on another surface, on skin. So if you like these art videos, I hope you like me below and you subscribe, and feel free to share. And you can also join me on Sundays at 3 o'clock on Facebook at www.facebook.com/DiaLenahan for live tutorials. Now you can see that I'm still drawing. What I'm really doing now is just fussing around, making the image more appealing to me, and working around those droplets to make them stand out and even feel more real. Now I only used 2 shades of green, and I did that on purpose to show you how simple it could be. 1 yellow in Naples yellow, and 1 H pencil. Now I used that drafting pencil. You do not have to. You can use a number 2 pencil. You can use a mechanical pencil. I like them with a slightly harder lead, H2 even, just because it's easier to control and the lead is lighter. So you do have to go over it and over it more often to get the intensity level, but there's not going to be the problem of it blending. Now here it is up close. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to see you soon. Bye. Like below. Thank you.